Welcome to Paranormal UK Radio with your hosts, Irene and Mark and Mark Johnson.
Welcome to Paranormal UK Radio, the flagship show broadcasting on the Paranormal UK Radio network. I'm your host, Irene Allen Block, and with me tonight is Mark.
Say it. Say it.
Johnson.
There we go. Yeah. I am so proud. Here, you get a little gold star. There you go.
Oh, God. Do you know something I forgot for a second there?
You know what? This is Monday that we're recording this, and it's going on Wednesday. But just to let you know, this is the most Monday of Mondays I've had in a while.
Oh, me too.
My brain is just all fried.
Well, that's no wonder then. If your brain's fried, it's spreading across to me because you're so in tune with each other. You know?
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
That's why I'm talking nonsense tonight. That's understandable. Understandable. Now I see what's going on. Anyway, Mark.
Yes.
Let's talk about the two new shows first that are coming to Paranormal UK Radio Network.
Tomorrow, Thursday. Yes.
Yes, exciting stuff. All exciting stuff.
Well, two great new shows. We're really looking forward to introducing these to everybody. We have, starting in the 8 o'clock hour, we have, are we ready for it? Are we ready for it? We have Twin Souls, hosted by Ronnie and Philip Kinsella. And that name is literal.
Go on.
The name is literal because of they are identical twins. And they're going to be talking about everything from on the paranormal to UFOs to you name it, spirituality, psychic mediumship. Ronnie himself is a psychic medium, so brilliant show.
No, Ronnie's not a psychic medium, it's Philip.
I could swear it was Ronnie.
No, it's Philip.
Oh my God, they're going to kill us. Guys, if you're listening...
Sorry, boys. If you're listening to this show, look, Mark balls up.
Speaking as a twin myself, you know, everybody screws up with twins. So there we are. But anyway, that's going to be one of our new monthly shows, the fourth Thursday of every month, in the 8 o'clock hour, both Greenwich Mean and Eastern Standard Time. And then directly following them in the 9 o'clock hour, we have... Do you want to announce it?
Ghostly Tales of the Unexpected with Simon Entwistle.
Yes. So what's going to be brilliant about this show is Simon, who is a tour guide and historian, and he knows his ghost stories. He was a guest on our show at Christmas time, and he's going to be spending an hour every month telling ghostly tales around the UK.
That's right. Very, very scary ones.
Well,
scary.
We're certainly looking forward to it.
Yeah. I love a good ghost story. I really do. Don't you?
Obviously.
Yeah.
And he tells them so well.
Yeah, he really does. He's a fantastic teller of stories.
So,
real stories.
Plus, and we should be able to announce soon, we're going to be having another couple of shows joining the network. So that's in the work. The lineup is expanding. We're covering shows in the UK and the US, and we're even trying to go a little international here over into Europe. So we'll see what we get going here. But it's turning into be out an exciting beginning of the summer.
Yeah, it is. Definitely is. And more exciting stuff to come in the future, I should imagine.
Yes, and we will soon be scheduling another SARI meetup right here in Colorado Springs, Colorado, for people listening. So stay tuned to our meetup group and our Facebook pages, and we'll be announcing the next meetup very, very soon.
Yeah.
So lots of good things happening. So what's on the table for tonight? Who's our guest?
Well, who's our guest tonight? A lovely lady from, let me see. I've forgotten. Oregano. I keep thinking oregano. Why do I keep thinking oregano?
You're thinking oregano. You got the Italian thing going.
Yeah, I've got the Italian thing going. It's because I'm also thinking about that as well, because I'll be going away very soon to Italy. Yes. Where's June from? Hello, June.
Let's introduce our guest, June Lundgren, coming to us from Oregon.
Oregon, yeah. So,
hi, June. Welcome to the program.
Do you think the herb oregano is Italian for Oregon?
I have no idea.
I don't think so.
No.
No, neither do I. No. Well,
June,
it was worth a try.
What part of Oregon are you from?
Oregon City, Oregon.
Yeah? Oh,
Yeah.
great.
Now, not being super familiar, is that on the western or eastern side?
It's on the, where Portland, Oregon is?
Yes.
Okay, we're about 13 miles south.
Got it. I'm recruiting for some jobs up near there in Hillsboro for my day job. Now, June, can you for our listeners, this is the only boring standard question part of the show where we ask, could you just tell our listeners a little bit about your background?
I am a psychic medium. Been that way all my life, obviously. I'm an animal communicator, international author, and I'm a nurse. And I spent 5 years in the military doing my term, and then I came home, and I've been helping people with their paranormal issues for over 50 years.
Wow. And it sounds...
Never! You're nearly as old as I am, June.
I know, it's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, I've gone past my half a century a long time ago with paranormal. Oh my gosh, there's another one like me. I thought I was the oldest one out there.
Well,
I don't mean in age. I mean in the amount of time I've been doing it.
Oh, yeah. I've been doing it since I was a little kid. Yeah.
Yeah, same as me. As me. I went serious into it when I was about, 10, 15 years old.
Yeah,
that's when I became serious with it.
Yeah, it's about the time when I escaped and became, my own person.
Yes.
Now, June, you are an author, and you have written a couple of books. We have a medium.
More than a couple of books.
I have 8 books.
8 books now. Good Lord. Well, there's several here to mention. You have, I guess, one of the main ones we could be talking about tonight is The Medium's Guide to the Paranormal.
That was my very first book, written in 2009.
Now, you mentioned you're an animal communicator.
Yes.
And I've known other people who claim to be animal communicators, but I'm still shaky on the concept. In what way do you connect with animals?
I think everybody does it a little bit differently. I know that my son is an animal communicator. He communicates, he gets their feelings and impressions, and if they're in pain or however they're feeling, he picks up on all that. I get like full-blown conversations. Like, at first they're kind of leery of somebody that can communicate with them because they're startled. They don't, they're not used to that. So once they give them a few minutes to warm up, then they're okay, and then they start talking.
And what?
So June, sorry, Mark. June, is it like horse whispering and things like that, and dog whispering?
I think a lot of people do it with energy. With they read their energy and pick up on that. And, a lot of the problem is the humans, not the animals themselves. But I actually communicate with them like I communicate with spirits. So you have just regular conversations with them.
Are these animals on this side, or are they animals that are passed over?
Both. But mainly people seem to contact me for, issues with their pets that are living. I had a woman from Southern Oregon call me one day, and she said, I have a cat. He's lost his sibling recently, and I really want to find him someone that he can relate to, somebody that he can, get along with and feel comfortable with, secure. And I told her, I said, listen, I want you to go to your nearest rescue center. And I said, you're going to find a black cat, short-haired cat there, female, and she's going to answer to the name Pumpkin. I said, you go find her. That's his buddy. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, she says, I found her.
Wow.
So they get along like a house fire. They're just so comfortable with each other.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, that is nice. That's a nice story, isn't it? So you're an animal communicator. June, I have a British Bulldog here, which is the, what do you call him, Mark? She's to the show. Oh, Sugar Plum
Mascot?
Fairies. Yeah, a mascot.
Yeah.
She's the mascot to the show. She's 6 months old and she snores like a trooper, which she's doing now in the background. Can you please communicate with her and tell her to stick a sock in it or something?
And she's still a puppy. Imagine when she's full grown.
She's not even realizing that she's doing it. She's like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know.
No, she's just gone off again. Every time I do the show, she falls asleep and she snores.
She feels comfortable there.
Yeah.
And so she's totally and completely relaxed. She says, I really feel good when this is going on, and I'm just happy and secure, and I just love it.
Yeah. She's a lovely little pooch. Eats everything in the garden, whether it walks, flies, or it grows. She'll eat
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I live on a farm, so I guess it's a good place for
Oh,
me
you
to
do?
Yeah.
So do you communicate with the animals on the farm?
Yes. Yep. My son, I remember when he first saw his first calf born, and he was just really excited about it. And he was talking to the baby even before the baby was born. So we had cattle for years and years, and now I have chickens.
I was going to say you got chickens, haven't you?
Chickens, yep. Oh, yeah. Got the girls, yeah. And I have a barn cat, and I have a Springer Spaniel and a Cocker.
Yeah?
Yep.
Oh, lovely. So you only keep chickens then now?
Yeah, it's just, it got to be too much. I'd be constantly waking up, because if they break out, oh my God, they get on the road. We have like a fairly busy road by us. And, they got out once years back. And so I worry about them all the time. So I'm always waking up several times a night, constantly checking on them. I told my husband a couple of years ago, I said, that's it. I'm getting too old for this stuff. I need to just, find them a good home. So I found them a home not far from here with 100 acres and the guy raised Black Angus and I raised Red Angus. Oh. So all the mamas and babies all went to live with him. So I was happy. Kept them all together.
That's good. That's good. So did you want to say something, Mark? I thought I butted in on you just now.
Yeah, you did, and I'm used to it. Well, just June, just go in a little bit about your background. At what point in your life did you realize that you had these gifts that other people have? I mean, I know a lot of people we talk to, it's from childhood. Some come in later in life. What happened with you?
My grandmother knew it the moment my mother dumped me off at my grandmother's right after I was born. And my grandmother knew right away. She had the gifts herself. And so for the first 5 years I lived with her, and she taught me how to communicate with the beings on the other side, as well as the animals. And so it's just been ever since I can remember. I've never really thought about it. It's come so natural.
Did you reach a point when you started to realize that, hey, because you normally think everybody can do this, and then how did it hit you when you realized most people do not?
I don't think I ever really came to that point, because my grandmother, sat me down and talked to me and said, not everybody can do what we can do, and you need to understand that. And we kind of keep it as a private thing. Back then, that's what you did. You didn't, so to speak, come out of the closet. You just kept it private. If there were some messages that were brought through for family or friends or whatever, then you delivered them and you helped out where you could. And so
they did in them days, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the same with me. Did you when was the first time you ever saw a spirit?
That I can actually remember.
Going back to the earliest time, because I can remember my first one. Well,
probably about 5 years old is when I really
first
remember.
Conscious one.
Because my grandfather died. And
Yeah.
it was him that I saw. He actually, came to me prior to his death and said, I'm going to go. I'm going to be leaving you, and you'll be okay. And I didn't say anything to my grandmother about it, and until after he had died. And she says he was just wanting to let you know that he would be looking after you, that you would be okay. So that was my first real, and I saw him, push a dresser over on my cousin's husband, who he never could stand.
You actually saw him do this?
Yeah, I was sitting at the dining room table, and the bathroom is like a straight shot. You could see the bathroom door. And my grandfather used to have his room there. And I saw Bob go into the bathroom, and then I saw my grandpa appear, and he winked at me, and he pushed one of those big old giant heavy chest of drawers over in front of the door. I mean, the thing must have weighed 100 pounds in front of the door. And then next thing you know, Bob's like banging on the door, wanting out, and I didn't say anything. I didn't tell my grandmother till later.
So what he actually did is he blocked the door from him getting out. He didn't actually crush him with it or anything like that.
He blocked the door so he couldn't get out. The only way out. He never could stand him.
Was he a bit of a prankster then, your grandfather? Or is it just that he just didn't like him and he was going to get his own
Probably in
back?
his younger years, he had a great sense of humor and everything, but he tolerated Bob because he knew within himself that something wasn't right with him, and of course my cousin and him ended up getting divorced less than a year later, but he never could stand him, and so I mean, he had a great sense of humor, but I don't think it was real. I think he just wanted him to know, this is how I feel about you, because he couldn't do that in life because my grandma would get upset.
And how did Bob react to it? Did he think Christ Almighty, this place is haunted, and he was out of it, or what?
Well, he's like, everybody just said, well, we don't have no idea how that happened, that sort of thing. Nobody ever told him.
These things don't just topple over, do they?
I told my grandma later, and she's like, well, he never did like him.
She took it in her stride then, really.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I like that. I'll remember that story, I think. Yeah. So, where was I? That story's thrown me. I had another question for you, but my mind's gone blank now. Oh, yeah. So what, on the healing side, obviously you were a nurse, so you've got, you know that side of it, but you're also a spiritualist healer or a psychic healer or what?
Mine is...
Is it hands-on?
It's a laying on of hands.
Yeah.
So it was a matter of, God said to me, I'm going to give you a gift. And I said, okay, what kind of gift? He says, he didn't tell me at first. And then it's like suddenly my body was on fire and I was shaking. And then I'm waking up on the floor and he says, it's done. He says, you now have the gift of healing.
Who was this? Who?
God.
You heard from God, spoke to you on this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He said, this is my gift to you. And I said, but she didn't give me an instruction manual on it. How does it work? I had no clue, And he says, what happens is I send people to you by word of mouth. He said, all you have to do is pray, lay your hands on the person's physical body and open yourself, and my healing will pass from me through your body and into the person. And it says it starts on the cellular level and works all the way through. Sometimes it's instantaneous and sometimes it takes a couple days, couple hours to take effect, but it works. Like I said, it's not me doing it. I'm just the conduit. It's God that does all the healing. But he's healed everything from fibromyalgia to cancer. But like I said, it took me 5, almost 10 years to come to terms with it, because being in medicine, I see the scientific side of it, the medical side of it, and I always make sure when somebody is sent to me that I tell them, you need to check with your doctor. You need to follow up with your doctor, make sure that you do all of the things you're supposed to do that the doctor tells you. I said, but you're sent to me because your faith is strong. And so I've been doing that for the last 27 years.
Yeah. Do they find their way to you, June, or
yeah, because
they come across your website and things like that?
Because at first I never even mentioned that. It was something that I kind of kept on the side, and God says, I'm going to send people to you by word of mouth.
Yeah.
And that's how it seems to work. People find me by word of mouth more than anything. And it's usually because of their faith. One person will tell somebody and somebody will tell somebody else. And the people that really need it find me. The ones that, per se don't need it or aren't contracted to be healed or whatever, they don't find me. But the ones that really need it and that God sends to me, I never turn them away.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. I went for healing once. Oh, God. I used to be a dancer, I used to do dancing and I'd done my back in. And I just couldn't get any relief from it. And somebody said, come down the spiritualist church, So I went into this church hall and there's all these people sitting there in rows and one thing, and I waited my time. And I went into this little room where there was this man and he put his hands on me. And I could feel the heat radiating from his hands. Mm-hmm. And it did ease my back, really did ease my back. In fact, it eased my back so much I was out dancing in the nightclubs the following night.
Yeah, God does good work.
Yeah.
People, when I lay hands on people, they say that sometimes they feel electrical shooting through their body. Sometimes they feel the vibration, the warmth. Some people say it's like a wind running through them.
Okay. I don't think I was deserving of it, but I think it was something that, because there was other people much more deserving than I, but it was something I think that I had to experience so that it gave me that belief that this stuff actually works. Do you understand?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because in all my lifetime of learning and the gifts that I've got, because I don't read any books on this sort of thing, it all comes natural to me.
Yeah, me either.
It comes in stages, like I'd be seeing spirits as a child and growing up with spirits around me all the time. Then I become a medium, and then from there I'll transgress on to being a trance medium, and then from there it seems to come in blocks.
Yeah, yeah. When you're ready for each level.
Yeah, go up in levels until where I am now, and retired. Yeah, I done my bit, and I'm totally retired now. Unless it's an emergency, I don't come out the box anymore.
Well, you've got so many other things going on with, hey, we got a radio show and the investigation group and print publishing and writing, so. Yeah.
It's time to relax.
Never enough hours in the day. At least that's the way it is for me.
Yeah. Do you find it goes like that for you as well? Sorry, Mark, I butted in again. Oh. That's my seal impression.
That's okay. I'll just sit here in the background. You let me know when I can talk.
All right, I will. Do you find that that's what happens with you as well, June? Does it come in kind of blocks in stages where you spend a period of time doing certain things and then you move on to something else, or it just kind of drifts into something else?
Yeah, a lot of times it's the need for something. It's like I had a friend of mine that said, I'm going to send you a picture and I want you to tell me what you get from it by, touching it. And I'm like, okay, because I've never had, at the time I had never done that before.
Just psychometry.
Psychometry. I had never tried it. So, Michael told the archangel, he says, you don't know half of the things, he said, that you can do. You just need to try it and you can do it. And so I did, and I can. And the problem with that is sometimes I was down in the Shanghai Tunnels and I took my jacket off and wasn't paying attention, and I leaned against the wall of the tunnel.
kill it.
I was down in the Shanghai Tunnels in downtown Portland, and I made the mistake of leaning up against the walls. And then I could see like a video playing of all of the things that had transpired in that area, as well as all the emotions that went along with it. And it's a bit overwhelming if you're not prepared for it. You know, if I'm prepared for it, it's one thing, but when you're unprepared for it, it's like it'll really knock you for a loop.
What kind of energy were you feeling? Was it like a negative energy? Were you feeling it like an oppression, or how did your physical body react to it?
Well, that was the first time I had been in the tunnels, and I was actually being called down there to remove some demons. And I knew that that's what I was being called for, even though they didn't tell me what was there. So I picked up on the 3 demons that were there. I also picked up on the earthbound spirit that was a nasty guy that was in charge of all the opium den and the prostitution and the Shanghaiing, as well as the women that were there and the suffering that they went through, and the men and the people that died there. I picked up all of that.
It's strange you should bring up the Shanghai Tunnels, because we were talking about them last week on the show, weren't we, Mark?
Yeah, and
the Gert Bauer.
I've seen some definite things with the Shanghai Tunnels that I've seen some other cases now, you know, that basically exactly what it is. They Shanghaied people, sailors, into you know, they drug them, and then they wake up on a ship out to sea, and there's nothing else you could do about it at that point.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, it was a lot easier over here. They used to go around all the bars and the pubs and things like that, find the drunks, put a shilling in their hand, the Queen's shilling. That meant that they were in the Navy. And they were, and then they were just hoisted off in front of everyone. You took the Queen's shilling, that was it. You signed up.
Yeah, you couldn't do that here, but it's, I've been down. I was actually just back down there a few months ago, and the problem is, when you go down there, the guy that owns the property is not the same guy that works with the Geological Society to try to preserve the site. So they get people that they let in that go to the back of the tunnels, which are almost inaccessible, and they'll open up portals. They'll do seances. They use a witchboard, and they'll go back there and they'll leave it open. And that's what happened the first time. And I went a few years ago and removed the demons that were there, and then I had to go again a few months ago because the same sort of thing happened again. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to charge you next time. Because that's ridiculous. I mean, and this time it was the owner complaining about the goings on, but yet he's the one who let them in there. So,
well,
how long are these tunnels then?
I don't know, the 1800s. I can't remember the actual dates and stuff, but they're about to open up a new section of the tunnels. And so I'm going to have to go in there and make sure there's nothing that shouldn't be in there. My paranormal group, Northwest Paranormal, we're kind of like the group that does the Shanghai Tunnels. We're the hosting group. And so I try to keep it clean, shall we say.
Is there miles and miles of these tunnels?
There are several miles, but most of them are all filled in. So this has it's been several years to be opening the new section now, and it's under it's like underground across the street, and then they cleaned out the building across the way. So there were catacombed at all these, but they got most of them are all filled in or mostly filled in, and so they had to dig them out, and it takes us backbreaking labor.
No, that's one place that Mark and I want to visit if ever I get over there.
Yeah, you should come.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with these kind of public locations. Especially, you get called in to get rid of a demon, and they have nasty spirits, and then the next, group that comes in there, they stupidly are opening portals, so provoking, summoning demons,
Yeah,
using Ouija boards, and then they screw it up all over again.
they
So
do. It's like ridiculous.
it's almost not worth going in. First of all, a location that is open to the public.
Hmm.
What is the point in going in and clearing anything out if people are going to be stirring it up again anyway? You almost can't do it because then they
Yeah,
open up and let the same things or even worse things back in. And that's the other thing with a lot of public locations, and I've been to a few of them. I've been to Rolling Hills, I've been to Fort Mifflin, and with these locations, the people, they may have had a small paranormal reputation in the beginning, but with all of
hmm,
these people coming in and stirring up the energy and provoking and bringing stuff in, things start getting worse and worse and worse.
it
Um,
does. I don't understand why they let them do that, because it's just, I mean, it's where these souls live. It's like it's like somebody coming into your home and trying to provoke you. You just don't do it. There's no respect for the people that are stuck there.
no, there isn't. And they've watched one too many ghost shows
Yeah,
with Zach Bagans screaming, "Come out here and use our energy and scratch us." And of
don't
course,
make me go there.
he doesn't. Well, you know what's funny? I kind of laugh. He doesn't do that anymore. He learned
No,
his lesson.
you've noticed that, have
Yeah,
you?
yeah, the first few seasons they used to do it big time, and then now they don't do it anymore. They learned the hard way, broke up Aaron's marriage, and had stuff
Yeah,
following them home, and attachments and possessions. I mean,
yeah,
they
yeah,
they opened themselves up to a world of hurt.
yeah. It's not, and people that like us that do this sort of thing with the removals and stuff like that of the negatives. It's something that I don't think anybody in their right mind would choose to do, really. It's something that God told me, this is what you're going to do. You've done it in all your other lives, and you're going to do it in this life too, because you're good at it, and you need to do this work for me. I mean, I asked him, I said, you couldn't give me something like, Glinda the Good Witch of the West or something, you have to give me the dark stuff. And he said, yeah. He said, I do, because this is what you do. And I'm like,
I have to.
That's like me, isn't it, Mark? 50 years of working with the dark stuff.
Yeah, well, after a while you get tired of it. It's like leave it to somebody else to deal with for a change. Well, I do have to ask this, June, because I'm fascinated by this. Because you mentioned earlier, and you say a lot of this in passing, and I think maybe taking for granted that some people understand it. And that is, you mentioned God, and she told you certain
no,
things.
I said, he.
Oh, I heard you say she. Yeah, I heard a she come out there.
Oh,
There was,
maybe there's a bit of divine intervention
yeah,
there.
maybe there's a little bit of a Freudian slip going on there. Okay.
I have to
Okay,
double check that one.
that could be because when I died in a motorcycle accident in 1988,
Yeah.
a woman hit me around a red light, and I was clinically dead for 2 minutes.
Do you remember any
And
of that?
oh yeah,
June?
like it was yesterday. And I remember
Okay.
going to the other side, and my grandparents were there waiting for me, and my grandpa said, "It's not your time." And I remember saying, "Yeah, I know it's not my time. I got to go back." He says, "You're going to have a son within a year." And I'm like, "I'm not. Yeah, I just started dating my now husband. I had no intention of having a child, But I'm like, okay. And then Michael was over there, and he said, this you need to understand who and what you are. And I'm like, I'm me, you know. And he says, no, you're thinking like a mortal. He says, this is who you are. So he made me relive all the physical world lives that I've ever lived back to the soul, the core soul. And he says, this is who you are. And he says, you're Ariel the archangel. He said, you were made to come back, and you will return time and again until you learn to have compassion for man. He said, you have been up here so long that you have nothing but contempt for man. And, evidently what happened, he showed me an image of Ariel ripping a demon out of a physical body, a woman's physical body, and the woman died. And I guess that was the last straw for God. And he said, you need to you have to learn to have compassion for man. So you will continue to relive lives until you understand what it is to be human and to have compassion and caring for them.
I'm in trouble because
got that now.
So many people piss me off. So
yeah, me too. If I see a dog abuser, I'm on it.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I can't
definitely
stand animals.
Yeah, you're like me.
So,
Mark, I interrupted you again. You may now speak.
Are you sure? Should I take a number? Just like I'm standing at the delicatessen.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
It's okay. You're in rare. It's like I said, Monday, Wednesday. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, when you had this near-death experience, and God showed you all of these other lives, do you have a rough idea how many lives you've lived on Earth? Was it like too numerous to count, or just a few?
It was too many to count. I didn't even it just like happened in probably a nanosecond, but over there it felt like it was forever. All these lives and everything. I was burned as a witch, so I saw all my deaths and everything. So it's so I'm like, it took me a good couple years to come to terms with that. And my grandmother was a great one for reading the Bible and interpreting the Bible. And she said, you have to try the spirits. You have to make them prove what they are and who they are. And so I didn't take it just as for face value, even though, I was dead when I was shown all this stuff. I still, said, well, if that's who I am, how can you prove to me that that's who I am? And Michael says, have you ever stopped to think and wonder why you always know where the negatives are, and why they always seem to get the heck out of Dodge when you come around, when they know you're coming? It's like they leave the vicinity. He says, because they know who you are, they know what you are, and that's the reason you can see them, hear them, interact with them, and get rid of them. And I guess I had to think about it for a while, and it finally sunk in. He says, I'm going to prove it to you. He says, you're going to get a call from someone about a negative entity that you need to remove. And so the first time I went to one of those where I had to remove it, I knew exactly where it was. Before I even got there, I knew what it was, what type it was, where it was, and what it had been doing. And the minute I actually came in contact with it, it's like my physical consciousness takes a step back, like you're channeling, and Ariel's consciousness comes forward. And people have taken pictures and stuff, and they say my whole face changes, that my eyes turn white, and that it just takes me a couple of seconds. The voice changes, everything changes, and she removes them within a few seconds.
That's very, very similar to the way it happens with me.
I was just thinking that. Now, what I'm really interested in also is, now you had the near-death experience. You talk with God. Are you still? You mentioned that Michael talked to you. How does this happen? Is this? Are you still receiving ongoing communication, either in dreams or in meditation or whatnot, or did it only happen during that one time of the near-death experience?
No, Michael's with me 24/7, and I can talk to God just simply by thinking about him. He's right there, and it's like I'm talking to you right now. Michael's with me most of the time, 99% of the time. I asked him about that, and he said, I've been with you in all your other lives, and this is no different. He said, we were avenging angels together. We dispensed retribution. He says, we are the right hand of God. And I'm like, that's too weird for me. And he's like, no, he said, we were also in another lifetime before we came, to this world. We were basically what they call soulmates. He says, that's why I never leave you.
Huh. Now, well, let me ask you the retribution aspect of it. That sounds more Old Testament-y than New Testament-y. So
yeah, he's he's becoming more and more modern. But when we were talking about it, and he said that's what we did for God. He said that we were, we had to go and dispense justice. It was a part of our job. And he says, and it's still a part of our job. He said, but you do it now in the guise of the physical body with the removal of demons. He says, I do it from my point of view. So whatever God wants, if something's happening, he takes care. He says that he sends for me or Ezekiel, and we do it. Or Gabe or Raphael. Sometimes I went into one place where there were 5 demons. I'd never been in a place where there was that many. And Gabe and Raphael and Michael all went with me. And it was interesting. Never had that many with me before at one time. We had fun. They love to do that. They just get off on it. They're like, all right, man. I'm seeing them rubbing their hands together. All right, let's do it.
This part of it is really intrigues me, and if I'm asking questions, it's not because I'm not believing you. I'm just trying to have a better understanding of it from this standpoint. Now, so basically, what you're saying is that these archangels can incarnate in human form. Because
now there are 8 of us in the physical world, reborn into the physical world.
I know I've heard a lot of people in the past saying that doesn't happen. Angels do not incarnate at all.
That's what I thought too. That's why when, I died and he told me who I was, I'm like, I thought you guys never come back. And Michael just laughs. He's like, yeah, he says, usually there's a reason for you reincarnating to the physical world. He says it doesn't happen very often. He says, it's usually for a reason.
But then what happens when the people who are praying to the angels and calling to those angels, and if they're here incarnated, what happens to those prayers or people trying to reach out to those angels?
You have to understand that the soul can leave the physical body for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And in my case, I hear them, I can't say me, Ariel hears them. And if Ariel hears them, then Michael hears them. They've got this communication between the two of them, to where people that are asking for her help, or Michael's help, or whoever else is in the physical world, it's never left, with running out there with nobody paying attention to it. Mm-hmm. There's the connection between the archangels, and they all get each other's, it's a party line. Yeah, that's what it's like, a party line. They all hear the requests from the physical world, the people that are in the physical world.
You don't think then that say an archangel, when it incarnates back into a human body, that part of that archangel is still out there in the ether, but they're connected with a cord sort of thing?
Well,
and that's why that archangel that's why that archangel then is able to go where needed.
Right. It's like
the physical person or the physical part of that archangel is still here on the earth plane, doing what they're doing, washing up the dishes or hoovering the carpet or whatever.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like when I'm sleeping at night, I know that the soul consciousness leaves, because I can always tell when the soul consciousness leaves.
Yeah.
I wake up the next morning like I've been, dragged through a knothole backwards.
Yeah. That happens with me quite a lot, and I do recognize that that's what's happening with me as well.
Yeah. So, but I still have that connection with all of them. It's kind of like when I died, I renewed that connection.
Mm.
And it would be, if I didn't censor it, it would be like being in a room
Yeah.
with wall-to-wall bodies and everybody talking at the same time. It's, you'd have to learn to zero in on one voice only.
Yeah.
And
Cut the
not
rest out.
everybody else to block the rest of them out. And that's what I have to do. I learned to do that because it would drive me crazy. It used to drive me crazy.
It's like I used to say, behind every human being stands 50 spirits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But what you do is when you're communicating, you bring just one of those voices forward, because otherwise everybody's talking at once, and it's like children in a playground, the noise is just unbelievable, and you can't understand what's being said. If you listen to children in a playground from a distance, it's all these voices.
Yep.
And this is
That's
what
exactly
it's like, So it's a matter of control, learning how to control and to take control of it all. What I was going to say, one thing I wanted to ask you, because I've not had a near-death experience, although I did see my father and my aunt when I was under an anesthetic once, but I did not die.
Mm-hmm.
When you first died, was it like everyone says, going through a tunnel with a light at the end?
I don't think it was so much of a tunnel.
Or were you just in one place and then suddenly you were in another?
It was like it was a bright light, and I could see, like when somebody stands in front of a light, how you can't see the front of them, but they're silhouetted against the light in the background. Yeah. And I knew right away that even though I couldn't see their faces, that was my grandma and grandpa. And there was an overwhelming feeling of warmth and just like of being safe, being warmth, the warmth of being loved. But I knew that it wasn't my time. Instinctively, I knew it. Most people will tell you, you're supposed, they'll say, oh, somebody told me it wasn't my time. And I knew that because my grandfather said, it's not your time. I said, I know. And he says, you have to go back. You're going to have a son. And my son was born almost a year to the day.
Yeah. Was that like most people, or a lot of people say, there was this overwhelming feeling of love and comfort. They just didn't want to come back. They wanted to stay, although they knew they had to go back. Yeah.
A lot. I never, it's a funny thing. I never really wanted to stay. No, which I thought was odd because, everybody says, oh, they don't want to come back. But it's almost like I knew I couldn't stay. And so
you had a job to do.
Yeah, I had come to terms with that, and that I had things I had to accomplish. And I needed to do them for God. And so I needed to get my butt back there.
Yeah, well, the one good thing about it is you're obviously not frightened of dying.
Oh, no. Been dead.
You know where you're going to go. You've been there, done that, and got the T-shirt.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it must be a fantastic experience.
Yeah, see, my grandmother did say she died twice in her lifetime. And she said, I'm not afraid of dying. She said, I know where I'm going, so it's not a big deal. She said, never be afraid of dying. It's just a new beginning.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I still see my grandparents, so I don't have that issue. My grandpa looks after my son, who is his namesake.
Mm-hmm.
So, my grandma, unfortunately, got stuck with my half-brother. Poor thing. But she comes visiting often.
Oh, dear me. It's really interesting. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, it is. And some of the things I'm trying to think of when you're dealing with these energies, these communications coming through. Was your background growing up relatively religious?
Yeah. For the first 5 years, my grandma was a Sunday school teacher. Her brother was a minister, and so she was raised Pentecostal. And she's Irish McGoy. Can't get any more Irish than that. But she was first generation. Well, she's No, she's third generation American, but she's, her and Pentecostal for years and years. And she always, I can remember her taking us to church when we were little, and my mother never would, but my grandma always took us to church. And my mother was not particularly religious, but both my grandparents were on my mom's side. They're the only ones I ever knew. So most of my stuff is faith-based. I know you'd say Christian, but I've learned over the years. My grandmother always told me, she says, never close your mind. Always keep an open mind, because she said there's more things out there than you or I will ever experience or ever know about in this lifetime. So make sure you keep an open mind. So I've tried to do that all my life.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever find that, I'm going back on my own experiences, my lifetime now, do you ever find that if you've got a question, you just sit and concentrate and the answers all come to you?
Yeah.
In other words, you can come out with stuff that there was no way you could have possibly known.
Yeah, sometimes I know I have a tendency, and I'm guilty of it, of overthinking. Sometimes your brain, you get the answer right away, and sometimes your brain will say, no, it can't be that. You talk yourself out of it, or you're like, no, then you start instead of using your instinct, you're using your brain. And so I find if I'm tired, I end up doing that. So I try never to do a reading or anything when I'm tired, because I have a tendency to just try to answer it out of my brain instead of my guts, my instinct.
Oh, so besides being a medium, you also do readings?
Yeah, I do readings.
Yeah. Do you enjoy that?
Yes and no. I'm one of those people that if somebody, I tell them right away, if you don't want to know the good, the bad, and the ugly, don't come to me, because I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you what I get from the other side. And I said, if I get something that's bad, it's usually meant to prevent something, like don't go to the beach Thursday. Because just don't do it, okay? Don't do it. Or don't marry this person, or don't go there, or don't buy this, or don't buy that. And it's usually meant to keep something negative from happening. That's the way I look at it. I'll give you an example. One day, my son was about 8 years old. I'm getting ready, getting him ready for school, grabbing my purse, and I pick up my purse and it weighs nothing. And I'm like, what? Because back then I had one of those big old binder things, planner with all that stuff in it.
Oh, yeah.
Like really heavy. And I'm like, I open it up and it's not in there. So we're looking all over the place for it and everything. And there's like, I can't find it. So we spent 10 minutes looking. That's it. I got to go. It had my driver's license in it. I'm just going to have to be late. I'm just going to have to take it, take a chance. So I picked up my purse and it's in there again. Mm-hmm. And I tell my great grandmother, who's one of my guides, I'm like, really? So I take off and she's like, well, we had to slow you down so that you didn't get into the accident.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't have just said something. She says, no, we're not allowed, but we can delay you. We can get you sidetracked or something so that it doesn't happen. We protect you in different ways.
Which has happened to many, many people, missing their aeroplanes and the aeroplane crashes and one thing or another. For the English viewers over there, when June talks about her purse, she's actually talking about her handbag.
Sorry.
A purse over here, June, is the little pouch thing that you actually keep your money in.
Oh, okay.
Inside the big thing, which we call the coin purse.
See, this is the problem, June, is that the English can't speak English.
There's a handbag. You carry it with your hand.
My husband says 2 great countries separated by a common language.
Yep. Yeah, except we speak it the right way and they will.
Oh, is that it? I thought it was colonial English we spoke.
Yeah. Anyway, just to make it clear, purse to June is a handbag. To us, and a purse to us is the coin purse that
The
you
coin
talk
purse that
about.
I grew up with. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Got that straight now.
Yeah, that planner would not have fit in a coin purse.
Yeah, that's what people were thinking, Christ almighty, how should you get that in there?
Yeah.
And a shopping bag's a shopping bag, Mark, wherever you are, I think.
Uh-huh. Sure.
He's a guy, he doesn't know.
No. He never thinks to take one.
No.
Well,
Anyway,
June, I'm going to ask a question now. Psh, quiet.
go on then.
Okay.
Go on.
How do you usually conduct your readings for people? Do you use any type of outward tools, like some people use tarot cards or something to kind of get into it? Or how do you conduct your readings of people?
I usually just, I can do it. I usually do it, but their guides will talk to me. I just connect with their guides or guardians, or sometimes it'll just, I'll get information long before the person gets here, long before I do the reading, and I'll write it all down. I'll get all this information from their guides, like they're talking my ear off. I'm like, okay, write it all down. And 9 times out of 10, I'll answer the question before they even ask the question, because they'll come in there like, I said, before you start asking me your questions, I said, let me tell you some messages I got for you before I even got here. And they're like, oh my God, that's what I was going to ask you. I'm like, oh, okay, there you go.
Now, do you have to do it in person with the people, or can you do it over the phone, or like, hey,
I can
Skype?
I can do it over the phone, through an email. As long as I get a picture, I'm good, and make the connection. Unless I've had people try to block me, in fact, I had one a few years ago. I was going to the Oregon Ghost Conference, and this woman came to me for a reading. And, I connected with her grandfather, who was watching over her, and I could hardly get anything else but the grandfather. She was like blocking me. And I told her, I said, listen, I said, you're blocking me. I said, I don't know why you're blocking me. I said, but your grandfather says that you're trying to block me consciously, so to prove a point. So this is what your grandfather looks like. This is what he's saying. And because you're blocking me, I can't get anything more than that. So I said, don't bother to pay me. Goodbye. But a lot of readings I'll do for free because, that's the way it is. I like to do that because, not everybody's rich. Not everybody has the money, but everybody has a need. So
right.
9 times out of 10, I don't charge.
Do you specialize in any types of readings, focusing on anything? Is it spirituality? What's coming up in their lives?
Usually, most people, I do it from a psychic point of view, the future, to see what's coming up in the future. What I usually look for is like health issues, financial issues, things that affect the physical world, and sometimes, the spiritual aspects. One of their guides or guardians will come along and say, they really need help with this, with their faith, and and they need some reassurance, spiritual reassurance. And I'm like, okay, because when I do the laying on of hands, it's not always just a physical healing. There are spiritual healings too. People need help with their spiritual wellness.
Yeah, I know how that is. I could use a little help these days myself.
Don't we all?
Yeah. Did you ever take? I know. Do you feel like this has all come to you naturally, or through God and the angels, or did you ever take any type of other classes to learn certain things like Reiki or something like that?
No, I basically, like when I wrote my first book, A Medium's Guide to the Paranormal, I have a friend of mine that we've been friends for years, and she said, well, you should read this book on this and this book on that. And I'm like, I don't want to read any of that stuff. I said, I have the information I'm supposed to have. People are always telling me, you should read this or you should read that or get into this or get into that. But, I want the information that comes to me when I was doing the first book, to come to me pure. I don't want it to be colored by reading this book or that book. It's kind of like when I go on an investigation and somebody calls me in, I don't want to know any history of anything. I just go in cold and pick up what I pick up, and it gets validated later. I don't want that. Our team, and I insist upon that in our team, I don't want to know all this history. Don't tell me any of the history. I just want to go in and I'll keep, a recording of what I pick up, how I pick it up, and where I pick it up. And then we'll go from there.
Now, when you go in with your team to do paranormal investigations, what is the makeup of your team? Do you have people coming in from the technical standpoint, using equipment? Do you come in just solely from a psychic perspective? I mean, how do you usually handle your investigations?
Well, we have, a tech team, and we have a tech guy, and we do, the digital recorders. We have the night vision recorders. We have ghost boxes and things like that. So we get a little bit of everything, and I always run a recorder because I always end up picking up different things than the others do because I draw it in. So, we do both. We want all different. We want to have validation for what for what I'm picking up, or what the client has had things happen, and we get response. You don't always get responses, but the responses you do get, we want to be able to play them for them or to show them so that they can say, okay, I'm not crazy, and whatever I pick up is what I pick up, and that gets validated later.
Okay. Well, let me ask you a very strange off-topic question. Do you know, or does the name Linda mean anything to you?
Yeah.
It does?
I have several Lindas.
Anybody who's crossed over?
Hush. No.
No. Okay. Had to ask.
No dead Lindas.
Okay. Then Irene was telling me she was feeling something coming through and she didn't know if it was for you or not. So, but she was afraid to ask, so I'm asking on her behalf.
Yeah, no, not me.
No, not a problem. Okay, I think I know who it is, Irene.
So it's your Linda.
Probably.
No, it may not be Linda. It may be that it's an energy, and what it keeps saying, all I keep hearing is Linda, Linda, Linda. So, and I'm not going to connect because I'm doing a bloody radio show, for God's sake, people.
Tell her she can connect in like another hour.
There you go.
Damn spirits.
It's like a push, an energy push all the time, and all I'm getting is Linda. Keeps coming in my house. And in fact, I nearly called you Linda at one point. I don't know why.
I work with two Lindas, and one of them's my best friend.
Yeah.
She's gonna have valve replacement.
Well, Mark actually does know. So I didn't know it was this woman's name, but apparently Mark knows the Linda on the other side. But so
yeah, we'll see. We'll see if she.
You again.
We'll see if she's sticking around after the show. If not, oh well, another time. So getting back. Go.
Oh, all right then.
No,
Come on,
no.
question.
I've asked the last couple of questions. You go ahead.
All right. Okay. In your nursing job, Linda, fucking hell. Sorry, people.
I answer to most things.
See how bad this is.
Tell her to naff off.
In your nursing job, June. Okay. In your nursing job, when you were working as a nurse, did what you do now, did it come in useful? When somebody, obviously I don't know which type of nurse you were. Were you with patients that actually were dying and one thing or another?
Oh, yeah.
So did your gifts help you in that way, in that particular work?
I used to work hospital work when I was in the military. I worked a lot of hospital work. And it's, your abilities are just something that you don't talk about when you're in there. And my godfather was a member of the OSI, in the military, and he said, whatever you do, don't tell him about your abilities. So I tried never to talk about it, but it did help me when I worked hospital work when somebody was dying and the people were lost. They didn't know which way to go. It helped me to help them cross over. All my stuff is done telepathically anyway, so I never, speak out loud. It's only been recently that I've had to speak out loud, to tell people this is what I'm picking up, because it's always all done in my head. So I don't think I'll ever get used to that. But yeah, it came in really handy. I always knew, for some strange reason, I always knew when somebody was going to die. I usually had so it can be anywhere from 6 months to a couple days. That's just something, it happened first about 20 years ago. And I was working with a girl and she said, my aunt was just diagnosed with lung cancer. And she says, I don't know whether I should take this week off or next week off to spend with her. She kind of raised me. And I said, well, I looked at her and said, you need to take this week off because she's going to be dead by the end of the week. And it just the knowing, this just came. And she's like, so she took that week off and she did die that Sunday at the end of the week. And I asked God, I said, why are you giving me this stuff, man? I don't want to know when people are going to croak. And he said, that's part of Ariel. He said, you were given the information so that person could spend the time with the person before they died.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, the reason I asked that question is because I used to have a friend that's, she was a nurse and she was able to sense when someone was going to die, and she would walk in there any time of the day or night, sit with that person, hold their hand and help them cross. Yep. And they used to quite often turn around and say to her, you're an angel.
Yeah.
Right. So, and
I work in a clinic setting now, so I don't really try not to get into that, even though when I know when they're going to cross, I still don't say anything because that's just, something that's, I'm sure it's frowned upon, so I don't say anything in my line of work.
Yeah. Yeah, I had someone come to me once and said, can you tell me when my mother's very, very ill in hospital, can you tell me, is she going to die? And I said, I'm not God.
Yeah.
That's
right. So, only he can tell you. Only him and the soul itself know their departure date.
Yeah.
I've heard times, though, that there could be several departure dates, depending on needs, certain things that happen.
There's only one true departure date.
Only one.
And that's the one where you go.
And it's not like heaven can wait. You're not taken out too soon. When you're meant to go, you're going.
Unless, sometimes there's an early checkout, something you get called back early for whatever reason.
Other than the type I had with where you die and come right back, because it's not, even though you do cross over there and everything, you're not meant to stay. So it's not really a departure day. It's to either teach you something or you to learn something, or you have to benefit from it in some way.
Which many people have said when they've actually had near-death experiences.
Yep.
Yeah. They've learned something from it, or they've gained some sort of gift from it.
Yeah, given them a new lease on life.
Yeah. I had made them understand how precious life is, even that, I
had a woman that came to me when I was down in Vegas when my first book came out. I was down there doing some healings and giving a lecture on my book, and I had a woman I'm sitting there in the afternoon and I was doing, healings and stuff. And I asked my hostess, I said, is there do we have somebody coming? And she's like, no. And I said, well, somebody's coming. I said, and they've got a negative attached to them, a demonic. And then the doorbell rings and it freaked her out. I said, answer the door. So she answers the door, and there's this lady. She says, I've been trying to get a hold of you for days. The line's always busy. And she looks at me like the line wasn't busy. Nobody was on the phone. And I told her, I said, well, you need to come in here with me. Because before we even came down there, before I went down there, I had my hostess put some special black salt that God gave me the recipe for around her home so that it would prevent anything negative from coming in. And I could see the demonic standing outside having a hissy fit. And so I brought her in there. I said, how long have you had this, demonic attachment? And she's like, is that what it is? All my life, since the wreck that killed her parents, she had actually died in it and came back. But she brought back a negative with her. And so all her life has been nothing but, pain and blackness, and her half-brother robbing her of her inheritance, and she's living like a pauper and having health issues. And I'm like, don't worry about it. I said, Gabe's taken it away, so you don't have to worry about it anymore. And so I heard from her like 3 or 4 months later, and she was on her way to Europe. Her half-brother is in jail for embezzling her inheritance, and things were looking really bright for her.
Well, good.
Gosh, everything came up roses in the end then.
Yeah, poor woman. She was
good.
she's in her early 50s, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Well, June, let me ask, with your near-death experience, that hit you at what age?
How old was I? I was 28.
Now, you were 28 when the near-death experience, but yet you grew up having these abilities. Other than the knowledge coming through of being shown who you were in your past lives, in work as Ariel, did anything in your abilities or change or come into clarity after that? Or was it just more of a knowledge?
It's actually, my abilities grew stronger. I'd say, if on a scale of 1 to 10, before they were a 5. And then after that, they're a 9.
Okay.
So it really actually amplified my abilities.
Is there anything with your abilities that it may seem hard to control, that sometimes you're able to more tune in than at other times? Or is it pretty much whenever you focus on it, you can tune in?
Yeah, if I'm tired or distracted, something like that, and then I have problems like tuning in, or I'm sick, I have problems tuning in. It's just, a lot of times, which I'm not the type of person that stays open 24/7, because you can't do that or you'll go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say, like, okay, that you know what I'm talking about, the Long Island medium.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm like, I don't want to hear anything bad. I don't know. I don't want to do that.
Who's that?
The Long Island medium.
She doesn't want to hear anything bad. She doesn't want to know anything bad. Doesn't want, to deal with anything bad. And she just says, I'm open all the time. That's probably why I have problems sleeping all the time.
She needs to go. She needs to have some sort of mentor, teach her how to handle it then, because she obviously doesn't know.
Yeah, it's like, why do you do that? You have to shut down. I mean, if you don't, you'll go crazy. Come on.
That's it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of her problem.
I don't have problems sleeping. I hit the bed and I'm gone. 30 seconds, I'm gone.
Normally,
the only
me
time
too.
I wake up is if there's something important. One night I was sleeping like really, really good, and my grandma's like, "Wake up, wake up!" And I'm like, "No, go away." Like, wake up. I'm like, "Why?" Says, "You need to call your brother's house." I said, "Which one?" I have 3. "You need to call Danny's." And I'm like, "Okay, fine, but why?" They won't answer the phone. And because it's like 2:00 in the morning. And she said, "Call them then and leave a message." I'm like, "Fine. What do you want me to say?" She's like, "I need you to tell them to put the candle out. The curtains are going to catch on fire from the candle." So I call, and of course I knew they wouldn't answer. So I left a message. And then my sister-in-law, she had heard the phone ring and looked at the time, she said, and couldn't figure out, who would be calling at that time of the morning. So, but she listened to the recording, and sure enough, the candle, the wind, it was summer, and the wind was blowing the curtain over towards where the candle had They thought they had put the candle out, but it was still lit. She called me the next morning. She says, "You freaked me out." I'm like, "What do you mean?" She says, "I knew you could do that, but I've never experienced any of it." I'm like, "Well, now you have."
I've had a few things happen to me, especially in the last few months. Still trying to figure out, Saturday, I was at a conference. I was listening to a lecture, and it was after lunch. I had something to eat, so you get those after lunch sleepies. And I started to doze off a little bit, and just as I'm dozing off, and I all of a sudden felt myself going deeper, somebody taps my right arm twice. Boom, boom. Like, "Hey, you're falling asleep." So I instantly woke back up and looked, and there's nobody around me. Yeah. Another time, I was lying in bed and I felt like something moving on the mattress, and then I felt a woman's hand. It was definitely feminine. A woman's hand like stroked the side of my face, and I'm sitting there going, "What the hell was that?"
That's the one I've more likely got behind me right now.
Probably, maybe. Who knows? It's like, okay, you know, I've had my brother come through a couple times, but this one is like, who the hell is this?
Oh dear.
So,
Well, you know, people don't always want to see things. You know, my husband is one of those people. If you can't touch it, feel it, or see it, it doesn't exist. He's an auditor. You know, very left-brained.
very analytical.
Yeah, very much so. And then one night, I had went to bed, and he was up late watching TV, and my son was little, and he's the next morning I said, "What did you want last night?" I'm like, "What do you mean? What did I want?" He said, "Well, you came down the hallway, you know, into the opening of the living room, and you looked at me, and you turned around and walked back down the hallway and disappeared." And I'm like, "No, I didn't." And it's like, "Yes, you did." I'm like, "No." I said, "Was I wearing glasses?" And he's like, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I'm wearing my contacts. I can't wear them both at the same time." I said, what kind of glasses were they?" And so I thought for a second to myself, I thought, let me get a picture of my grandma. So I pulled out a picture of my grandma, and she says, we look a lot alike. And he says, "That's not you." I said, "No, it's not. It's my grandma." No, it's not. No, it's not. I said, "You know what? You told me if you can't touch it, feel it, or see it, it doesn't exist." They're letting you know that they do exist. And ever since then, you know, he sees a lot of different things. We went to the coast one year, and he encountered a shadow person. He's like, "What is that?" I'm upstairs in the timeshare, and he's downstairs, and I hear him bellowing. So I come down, and he's like, "What is that?" I said, "That is a shadow person." And then it like shot out through the French doors that were there. He's like, "I don't ever want to see that again." I said, "Well, welcome to my world."
Well, that begs the question. I mean, did he know who he married? You know, he's so analytical and doesn't want to believe it. Does he not believe or accept what you do?
I never told him for 2 years after we were married. I waited until I was pregnant with my son, and I said, you know, this is what I can do, and the baby in me is probably going to be able to do the same thing. So there you go. Learn to live with it.
And he just chose not to learn to live with it.
You know, he's like, you know, he explained to my son one time. He says, "Don't you think Mom's weird?" And my husband's like, "You know what? I've seen what your mom can do, and I've seen how it helps people." And he says, "I'll always support her in anything she does." He says, "I've seen the good she does, so I don't have to necessarily believe in it to support her."
And that's fantastic, because there's a lot of guys, or even a lot of couples, where one who has the gifts and the others just doesn't want to accept it. They blow it off. That isn't real. They're just so grounded. So that's good that he's at least there and supportive.
Yeah, he may be analytical, but he's seen too much since he's been married to me to be impartial anymore.
That was the same with my Brian. He was exactly the same until and the house in London that we had was haunted. This house is haunted, and since he's been with me, up until he was with me, he never saw anything. But since he's been with me, he sees them. You know, he not very often, but he has seen stuff.
Yeah,
and,
it's like
now
it's like
it's
they
changed
need
his
to.
whole. Yeah, and he even got called a pig out there a couple of years ago by somebody. He was letting the dogs out. And he was standing by the door, and somebody turned around and went in his ear, "You pig." And he come rushing into me. I've just been called a pig. I've just been called a pig.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, he's accepting of it now, but mind you, I say he's accepting. Every time something happens to him in this house, he gets quite excited. He'll come and tell me, "Oh, this happened last night," or something tried to pull me out of bed last night. Well, this is a very active house. I take no notice of it, and he's just got to learn to live with it.
Yeah, we're so used to it. We don't even pay no attention.
Yeah, you see, he's not here all week. He's up in London all week, and he comes home at the weekends. So really, he's got a lot of learning to do about this house yet. He really has. Yeah, so what was I going to say? Oh, yes, you clear demons.
I do.
Yeah.
I don't like them too much.
No, neither do I. There's several ways of clearing demons. You know, people have their own ways of doing it. Roughly, how do you do it?
What happens is I go into a location. I don't talk to anybody. I go directly to where it's located. And as I said, it's like my consciousness kind of like I'm watching it from afar. And Ariel comes forward and she creates what Michael calls an infinity orb. It's a white light.
Let's say a bubble.
Orb. Yeah. And it's what he calls it, an infinity orb. And she draws the demon into it, basically sucks him into it, and then shoots it down where it needs to go. And it's over in a matter of minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. And the atmosphere in the place, it totally lifts straight away, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, right away. People just can't believe it.
Yeah. Mm.
You know,
sorry?
It'd be different if, the people that I remove the demons from, I'm like, if you don't believe me, go talk to the people who had the problem and see if they have it now, and they don't.
So it's not locations that you do actually do exorcism on people as well?
It's usually a location, but if somebody has an attachment, I can remove it. Yeah.
Okay.
Have you ever I'm sorry.
Been attacked? Was that what you were going to say?
I had one try to push me down the stairs once. I asked Michael about that because, I don't have any fear when I go into those places and where they're located. It's like, I know where it is. I have no doubts and no fear. And I asked him one time, I said, well, it can hurt my physical body. I'm telling you that right now. I said, so what's with that? And he just started laughing. He says, you know what? If they killed you, they would be in worse shape than they are now. He said, because if they killed you, Ariel would be released and she would be on them. She said she would make them wish that they never existed. So they really don't want the physical body dead. Then Ariel will be released.
Well, here's a question
that
for
makes
you
me
then.
Feel better.
In regards to people talk about with demonic hauntings or possession, that, I know on the religious side of it, they say the ultimate goal is to kill the host. Well, let's say somebody dies because of a demonic depression, possession or oppression. Does that affect that person's spirit or soul in any way, shape, or form? Because my whole thing was, well, no, it just killed the body.
They can trap the soul. I went in with the case up in Battleground, Washington, where the husband and wife moved into the house, bought this house, and the wife had never been sick a day in her life. And then within a month or two of moving into the house, she was diagnosed started having symptoms and ended up with terminal cancer. and died not 2 years later. And I got a call from somebody who said, we can't handle this. This is demonic in nature. Can you contact the person? And so I go up there and I'm like, I've heard about places where the land is just, people say the land is cursed, the land is no good. I mean, there's a lot of death on it, a lot of bloodshed on it. Nothing seems to grow. A lot of, negative energy there. And I've always wondered about that until I got to this place. And I'm like, okay, so I got in there. I said, you have an old demon, what I call an old demon. I said, and it is entombed in the ground. I said, it's entombed in the earth. And I said, I want to know why it's entombed in the earth. And I said, your wife has died recently. And he's like, yes. I said, because she's being kept here by the demonic. It's not releasing her. So his wife and 3 others were still trapped there. These things can trap you. But before I disposed of the demon, I asked him, I said, why are you here? And it refused to tell me. So I asked Michael, I said, Michael, make him tell me. So Michael made him tell me that it became trapped in the ground. It was entombed there because he went against Lucifer. And in going against him, he cast him into the earth and entombed him there. And he was never supposed to be released. So, anybody that died there, their soul remained trapped. But once I removed that, then everybody was released. I mean, he had kind of a perfect storm where his shed set out back. There was a portal, huge portal. I mean, it was so strong that somebody without abilities can feel it. I told the two people that were with me, I said, put your hand on this shed here. I said, oh my God, what's that? I said, it's a portal. So I had to close the portal. There were some local Indians that were trying to protect the people in the house, but they didn't have the strength to protect them from this demon. And there was even an elemental that was there, that was curious and was hiding under the house. So it's like the perfect storm. Everything happened at one time. The 2 people I came with, this demon tried to shove them down the stairs too. And I told them, is that all you got? Let's get on with it. Because I have the ability to hide her Ariel away until the time is right and I bring her forward. Because if they can't sense her, if I keep her shielded and they can't sense her, then they don't run away from me. They think I'm just a stupid human with no skills and no way to get rid of them.
I have a question on Lucifer.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to admit, I come from the different non-religious side of things where I don't believe in a Lucifer or devil per se.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of these negative demons, a lot of them can be human based or even some non-human based, but still, I have a hard time dealing with the concept of a devil or Lucifer. In your experiences, what have you come across, and what are your thoughts on that?
The negatives, there are some negatives that I come across that are just that. They're people that were nasty in life, and they're going to be nasty in death, and they don't want to leave whatever good thing going they got behind, so they'll stay, earthbound and cause problems. And then there are the true demons, which are the ones that some people call the fallen angels. They have no respect for life. They are angry all the time. They're negative all the time. They've never had a physical body since we came to this planet. And they don't want a physical body. They didn't want a physical body because, they didn't want to be subject to pain, growing old, having anger, depression, having kids. They don't want any of that stuff. And so that's why they don't reincarnate, because, there was this quote unquote war between heaven and hell, that we always hear about. Well, what it was we were from another planet at one time, and we evolved in that lifetime into pure energy. And we had to wait until everyone finished evolving into pure energy. And then we traveled, the galaxies and saw everything that could be seen. And then one day, a bunch of them said, we're really tired of this. We want to have children again. We want to have a physical body again. We want to know love in the physical sense and stuff. And so that's what the division was all about. And we have the half of them that said, no way, man, we're not doing it. We don't want to be subject to any of that. And the other one said, we'd like to do that. We'd like to have that. We'd like to experience it again. So that's what the big war, quote unquote, was all about. And when Lucifer, which was, disarmed by Michael, and his son was disarmed by Ariel, and God told him, this is what we're going to get. I'm going to give you what you want. You will never be able to take on human form again, physical form again. And they were good with that. They're like, cool, we don't really want to do it, so we're good with that. But the downside is, you're going to be living in a world of darkness. You're not going to be able to basically see the light of day, like putting somebody in solitary confinement. And they were good with it at first, but then over the centuries and stuff, they grow angry and pissed and just negative with the whole thing. So they're out to try to get back at the souls who are being reborn. And I know that kind of sounds like a weird thing, but Michael showed it to me in a video form. He says, this is what happened. This is how we came to be where we are today. And I see a lot of people say, I see demons as like, a lot of people say, oh, demons are black mass or this, or they look like the devil or whatever. They look like horns or half this, half that. But I see them as they truly are, which are fallen angels. Instead of being light, they're dark. It's the eyes that get you.
Are they more powerful than humans?
The demons, yes.
Okay.
True demons are. But, they say that, I've heard people say that, they don't have any more power over you than what you give them. And in some ways, that's true because, most people are raised to think there's demons, there's devils, they're bad, they're scary, they're, going to kill me, they're going to hurt me, whatever. And so we have all that running through our head when we see these things. And so that makes us pray, like a lion and a gazelle. It makes us pray. But if you don't fear them and you understand what they are, then, you're better off. They feed off of the fear. They feed off of the anger, all the negative emotions, make them stronger.
See, that's what I've looked at, either demons or negative entities as being more along the lines of spiritual parasites. Like they feed on the negative energy. That's what they need to increase their power here in the physical. So they'll latch onto somebody with problems and then create more problems to create fear, anxiety, depression,
health
and
issues,
everything.
all of those things.
And everything that they could feed off of.
Yeah, they do. They feed off of all that negative energy, and I've found correlations in all the places I've been to remove demons, that they, affect people's health physically, mentally, emotionally. They feed off of that. They try to cause strife and depression, jealousy, anything like that to help them grow stronger. But the first step is realizing that this thing is here and it's causing you to feel this way, causing you to be jealous. When you you can wake up one morning and look at your husband and say, oh, I'm going to kill him. I just can't stand him. And there's no reason for it. There's absolutely no reason for it. They never done anything to cause you to feel that way about them. But that's the influence of these things. They look for weaknesses. People with substance abuse, people with chronic depression, people with anger issues, people with mental illness, all that sort of thing. They're drawn to them.
Now, is it true that people who have these types of attachments, do they necessarily have to do some kind of open invitation for it, or can these things can pick somebody at random that looks like a good target and latch onto them?
They can usually pick somebody at random. I had one woman that came to me years ago, and she's a devout Catholic and very strong faith. But the problem was she had a friend that died, and this entity appeared to her as in the guise of the friend. And she ended up with a demonic attachment. And she had the strongest faith in the world and still ended up with a demonic attachment. She had no other thing. She was just thought she was helping her friend.
Yeah, but this is it with them. They can take on the form of people.
Yeah.
Can they take on, a lot of cases I've heard of, like the Tony and Deborah Pickman, who had the Sally House haunting. Sometimes these entities come in under the guise of children to kind of gain trust and then get their foot in the door. And then once they're firmly planted in, then they do the reveal and things start to get nasty.
I kind of liken them to stalkers.
Yeah.
They'll come in, they'll wait, they'll watch, they'll just wait for the right time. And they can come as a child, they can come as a loved one, they can come as an animal, and they'll wait. They're smart. They'll wait and they'll watch. And then they'll pick their time. And then they'll make your life miserable.
Is there a way other than bringing in somebody like yourself or Irene to get rid of these damn things? Is there a way that people can fight them themselves or create a situation to, kind of tell them to shove off? Whether it's trying to look at things more positively, trying not to give in to the negative emotions, which isn't always, doable. Yeah. But, what can people do if they start to have that type of, they feel an attachment like that without having to bring somebody in?
I mean, prayer is a powerful weapon. Prayer, invoking the name of Jesus and asking the archangels for help will help. Trying to get them, if they're an earthbound negative, because it was a person that was alive at one time, sage the heck out of them and prayer and ask, Michael or Jesus or whatever to come and take them away. But if it's a true demon, then you're going to have your work cut out for you. I mean, prayer goes a long way to help protect you. But these things, they're very patient. They can wait. They have all the time in the world to make you miserable. They don't have to. But, if you have something like that, don't try to take it out by yourself because, they look into your mind. They can read your mind. They know your weaknesses. They know your fears. And they go into your mind and they work on that. And they look in your mind and see what your perfect idea of a demon or a devil should look like. And they appear to you as that type of guise. So they can elicit even more fear. You're better off just having a clergy come in or somebody like Irene or I and get rid of it because it'll hang around. They don't just give up and go away.
So many times I've talked with people who have had negative attachments and they've tried to reach out to the clergy and the clergy shut them down. Or they say, oh, we don't do that. Or even, if you're Catholic, trying to go through the Catholic Church and all these...
It's a long procedure with the Catholic Church.
Yeah, you have to jump through a million hoops.
A lot of paperwork, a lot of interviewing, and that's before you get anyone to come anywhere near the house.
And by that time, you could be dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what you
Well,
should
they
do
come
is
out-
start
they come out and
advertising.
they just bless the house.
What you could do is start
Yeah.
advertising. Hey, can you come and help me with my demons? It's like, no, sorry, we're busy. It's like, well, I got some young boys here. Ooh, I'm sorry, I'm so evil.
That is bad.
It is bad,
You're
yes.
bad. You're bad.
Got some altar boys. Here, ringing the dinner bell.
Hey, that's enough. That's enough. He's a naughty boy.
Yeah, I
Yes.
know. I'm incorrigible.
Mm.
Oh. Have you ever dealt with a negative case that you almost felt like was too much for you? Or really put up a
I was
fight?
going to ask her that question.
Well, you and I are on the same wavelength, so I beat you to it.
Okay.
No, it's like the one where I went where there was 5 of them. It's like the closer I got to the location, the more anxious I got about it. And if I get anxious, then that means the stronger the feeling gets, the more negatives are there. And so I went to this one. It was like 5 of them there. And I have a friend of mine who's working with me that I'm helping to train her. And she's like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah. You know, they're growling at us and everything. I'm like, yeah, bring it on. But no, you know, you can't think that way because they'll find it. That's a weakness.
Yeah, it's a weakness.
You can't do that. You have to know that, okay, it's on. Let's do it. You
Well, with
cannot show
me,
any
with me,
weakness.
the adrenaline builds.
Yeah, yep. Well, I get kind of the opposite. I get like cold, just stone cold,
Oh no, I get
and my
full of-
emotions
it's
all
like-
disappear.
It's like the adrenaline builds up, and it feels like electricity. So much energy. I feel like I'm full of energy. I'm buzzing, literally buzzing.
Yeah,
Can't wait to get them.
I have energy till I'm there, and then it's like I become, totally and completely focused on only the entity, and nothing else matters. Just, it's
Yeah.
like the room could be full of people, and I didn't even talk to nobody. I had straight for it and start in.
Yeah, I don't talk to anybody, but I'm full of
No.
this energy, and it's well, I call it with me. It's like my nickname for it is I zap the buggers, because it's like I've got all this electricity running through my body. This energy is so high, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think the reason I go like stone cold like that is because normally I am such a highly emotional person
Mm.
that, all the time. Give me a sad movie, I'll be blubbering in a second. But
I'm the opposite. I am a cold person, so I've been told.
yeah, and now when it comes to that, it's like it turns everything off, and I'm stone cold, and I know where it is, what it is, and it's calling me everything but a white person, and it's like it don't make no difference to me.
Yeah, I know exactly what I'm going up against before I go up against it.
Yep.
You can
You have
feel the
to.
energy. It's like you read the energy, you know
Mhm.
what it is.
Yep.
But like you say, you blubber at a sad movie. I wouldn't. I don't.
See, we're kind of like opposite that way.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a cold-hearted bitch.
Well, I
And,
think probably I have to be this way because Ariel needs to be more caring.
well, it gives you. Well, what it seems to me that they're doing is they're giving you the actual emotions, so that it keeps you grounded as a human being.
Yeah, I have a friend that said,
Whereas,
you're not, you like when I get sick, or something like that. She says, "You get sick? I didn't think you ever got sick." I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'm a person. I get sick." I said, "I ain't no, Jesus. I'm a person.
Mm.
I'm gonna get
Yeah.
sick. I'm gonna fall and kill myself." I had both of my rotator cuffs reinserted into the bone in
Did
the
you?
last 2 years. Yeah, talk about
Ooh.
klutz.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's not nice.
I know.
Mm. Yeah. So, what about walk-ins? Have you ever known anybody that's, especially in the hospital and working in hospitals and anything, where people have been unconscious, bad accident, died, and, in a coma, and known that they've attracted a walk-in or step-in or whatever people like to call it?
Yeah, some people, I call them walk-ins. Yeah.
Have you dealt with any of them?
2 or 3 of them, and I asked Michael about it, and when I encountered the first one, and he said, this is how it's done. Both parties have to agree to, one go in, one come out. And I said, well, what doesn't that cause a lot of problems? I said, it's like, he said, you've heard of people that have absolute amnesia to where their whole personality changes.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. He says, that's a walk-in.
Mm.
I'm like, oh, okay. That makes sense. I get it now. Okay. So that's, and shortly after that, I encountered the next one. So I was like, oh, that's cool.
For anyone worrying about that out there, it's very rare.
Yeah. It doesn't happen that often.
No, it is very, very rare. So don't think if you're going to be unconscious, knock yourself out, have too much to drink and crash on the floor, you're going to get a walk-in.
No, like I said, I can count on one hand the amount in the 50 years I've been doing this that I've encountered. So,
yeah,
it's just not something that happens all the time.
No. Well, it's like demonic cases, true demonic. Yeah. It's a rare occurrence. It is a rare occurrence.
Yeah.
99% or of cases that you'll come across will be more than likely negative entities.
Yep.
And the odd one or two or whatever may be something that a little bit out of this world.
Yeah.
A little bit different. You there, Mark?
Yep, I'm here.
Thought maybe you fell asleep on us.
No, you would have heard me snoring. It was louder than Gertie.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you talked about going down to the Shanghai Tunnels, which has been glamorized by some of the TV shows going down there. What other cases have you worked on that have really been interesting for you?
Well, I had a recent case that was quite interesting. I woke up this is middle of March. I woke up one morning, Sunday morning, and I'm like, something's coming. Something's coming. And, you just kind of wait for the other shoe to drop. And so I got a hold of my friend that I've been training. I'm like, something's up. She says, I've been feeling the same thing. Something's up. And I'm like, okay, I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And then I get a message, Facebook message from another team that I know. And they're like, we have this case that we can't deal with. We're, getting ready for the ghost conference and stuff like that. And we were wondering if you could help them out, give them a call. So I'm like, okay, so there's the other shoe. And so I call them, and they've been having issues. Something's been killing their animals. They've been, they have an autistic daughter that's been scratched and getting scratched. They have a baby there that's 11 months old, and there's all kinds of arguments starting, issues. They came out one night, and here's this huge pentagram drawn in their backyard. And, they need some help. She said she was living in her family's home where she grew up, and the neighbor that owned the woods behind the house said, don't ever go in there. There's bad things that go on there. So as kids, they never went into the woods. Well, so the mom who owns the house, she's fragile diabetic, and her blood sugars can go from 1 hour from 400 and some to 30 in the space of an hour.
Wow, that's a heck of a drop.
Yeah, and so all this stuff was going on. And then there's this, so I'm like, okay, I said, we'll come out and we'll see what we can do to help you. So we came out. My friend does all the talking because I'm too focused on where I'm going and what I'm doing. And we get there, and I head out the back door, and I'm standing on one side, and I told my friend, I said, stand on the other side. We're facing each other, and the woman's like, that's exactly where the pentagram was. I'm like, yeah, I know. And so you get out there, and I can hear the chanting and stuff from the woods behind. Well, the woman that owned it died. The woods died. And she told her sons, don't ever sell it. Well, they had just sold it, and they were starting to tear up the woods. So that's bringing all this stuff out. And I could hear the chanting and stuff. So, they were doing satanic rituals behind, in the woods behind the house. And there were several other pentagrams that you couldn't see with the naked eye, but I can see in my head. And so we had to close that first, get rid of that first. But you could actually see a black mass in the living room up in the corner. And as I started removing these negatives, the black mass started receding. And before we left, it was totally and completely gone. But they had killed, a hamster, a rabbit, one of the dogs, and it was trying to get the other service dog. So that was kind of an interesting day.
That's the sort of thing that gets my dander up.
Yep. I don't want them killing no animals. I'll get you for that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Animals,
people are
children.
okay, but the animals, no, don't touch them.
Well, adults are okay.
Adults
are okay.
get into it, and they know what they're
But
doing.
when it comes to kids, when it comes to kids being hurt, animals being hurt, I get friggin' angry.
Yeah, I get pissed badly.
Mm. Yeah, I don't like that at all.
Have you?
So, Linda, have you got a website?
Linda,
And
Linda,
tell us a bit about your
Linda,
books?
you said Linda.
Shit.
That's okay.
Sorry. So sorry.
Is she still bothering you? Tell her to naff off for another 20 minutes.
Naff off for another 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. That's twice
Yeah.
I've done that. Oh
Yep.
my God. What's wrong with Linda? Anyway. Where am I?
If it's the one I was thinking of, I was going to say a lot.
I don't know.
All right, we got 5 minutes left, so fire away.
Yes, your books. What are the names and titles of your books? Where can they be found? And also, what is your website? And then we can get that out of the way, and then we can see how much time we've got left after that. Well, hang on a minute. Christ, this bitch. Shit.
You're hearing it here, folks. We're getting pestered by spirits while we're recording the show.
And I called it a bitch because it is a bitch. Okay, right. Sorry. And I haven't had too much to drink. I've not had one drop. That only comes when the sun shines. Okay, Linda. June.
Okay, all right. My books can all be found on Amazon.com, either in print or in ebook form. And the first one's A Medium's Guide to the Paranormal. If you just look up June Lundgren, you'll find them all. Medium's Guide to the Paranormal is the first one. Second one is Paranormal Encounters. It's the first in a series of 3 of my real-life paranormal encounters. And there's Paranormal Encounters Book 2. And then there's The Dark Side of the Paranormal. Talks about, how to tell the difference between the different dark entities, negative entities, their weaknesses, all kinds of things like that. And then there is, I have a paranormal romance called At a Time. And yeah.
Romance?
Yeah, romance.
Oh.
And then I have I have 2 children's books, Susie's Big Adventures and Petal's Golden Wings. Those are both for juvenile children. And then I have my newest book, which is Demon Seekers, The Journey Begins. It's a series of 8 books that are going to take place I've been made aware of where the other seven
Demons.
archangels
Okay.
are in the world. So I've made contact with 3 of them. So
You
I'm
have.
Yep. So I am creating, books, fictional books with the basis in truth.
Oh, great. Absolutely fantastic. And these can be bought where, sorry?
On Amazon.com. There's in print by Ingram Books, and there can be picked up on Kindle. You can find them on Smashwords if you're an iPad user.
Yeah.
They're
iBooks and all that.
Yep. They're
Okay.
everywhere.
That's what I'd always fancied doing, a children's book.
Yeah, that was the very first book I wrote.
I started writing once from when I had my first granddaughter, and it was at the bottom of Granddad's garden, and it was about a bunny rabbit and a hedgehog and then all that lived down the bottom of the garden,
Yeah.
And I only got a couple of pages written, and I was waylaid onto something else. But now I've got 6 grandchildren.
You better get it written.
Yeah, I better, haven't I? Trouble is, they'll want a different book each.
Of course. Change the characters up a little bit.
Yeah. No. Well, I was going to put the main character in this book as Amy, my granddaughter at the time. But no, I suppose we could have 6 children in the book.
Yeah, why not?
And name all the children after my grandchildren.
There you go.
Yeah.
My website is, I have a couple of websites. I have mysticconnections.org. And I have demonseekers.com. That's my book one. And then I have a demonseer, SEER.com. Is where people can contact me that need help with negative issues.
Well, June, I just wanted to thank you for coming on the show. We have run out of time here, but I will say that was a great 2 hours, and we'll have to have you back on the show again sometime.
Yeah, I'm leaving for London next month.
Oh, are you?
For a couple of weeks. Yeah, I'll be there from the 12th through the 23rd.
Whereabouts in London?
I'm staying at the Hilton in Greenwich.
Greenwich.
Yeah, however you say it. And then I'm taking a trip to Cardiff.
Cardiff, just down the road from where I am now. 90 miles on the M4 motorway.
There you go. And I'm going to go I have a friend that lives in Sheffield, and then Howard Hughes, he does the Unexplained Files.
Yeah,
we're friends. We're supposed to meet up for coffee or dinner when we're there, and then we're going to go I'm going to go to Stonehenge and all that.
Oh yeah, you've got to go to Stonehenge.
Yeah, I'm going to touch the stone.
I'll
be sorry, probably.
They've actually, when I was a child, I used to go there quite often and play on the stones, but now they fenced it all off.
Yeah, I'm going with a company that.
Yeah, you have to get special permission to go up to the stones now.
You're right, that lets you into the stones. Yeah, I had to find one, and I finally found one, so that should be interesting.
Yeah, that is some experience that you've got to do, I tell you. Right, June, I've got it right.
It's about time.
I looked at your name and sorry, because I said it.
Well, we're going to have to figure out who this bloody Linda is and get her to shut up. So, that's it for tonight's show. Again, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back next Wednesday night, 10 o'clock Greenwich Mean and Eastern Standard Time here on the Paranormal UK Radio Network. So I just want to thank everybody for listening. We'll catch you next time. Irene and June, we'll talk to you later.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, June. Thank you, everyone. Bye.